Motion to go out of executive session?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ask everyone to please bow their heads briefly for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided indicating the time and place the same in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times by posting a copy on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Here.
Councilman Delfaro.
Here.
Councilwoman McCain.
Here.
Council President Chesler.
Here.
Mayor Snyder.
Here. Executive session summary, please.
Executive session was held for approximately 30 minutes. The topics of discussion were personnel and contractual, specifically police negotiations, DPW contracts, other employment contracts. The meeting minutes will be available at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Thank you very much. Public comment agenda items only. There being none, we'll move on to old business. Item number 1 is the 2014 budget public hearing. John, give us a brief summary, please.
Sure. Good evening. Tonight, you are able to have the public hearing on the budget. You cannot take action on the budget. We have gotten the review back from the state. They have a few very minor questions that they had for us. They looked for a couple of explanations and a certification and a copy of the adopted COLA ordinance. They did a very thorough review, and they really only came up with a few small points.
Can you go through those points with us, please? As they're germane to the discussion, I guess.
One of the items that they looked for was an explanation of the $40,000 in the prior year bills that had to be paid. Another explanation was for why the fire inspector salary and wage went down from the prior year. They looked for the CFO to certify page 44 of the document. They looked to get a copy of the COLA ordinance that you had adopted in the prior meeting. And other than that, I don't believe we had any other items of substance.
There's been a lot of prior reference to glaring errors and mistakes and all those stuff. Did all those get apparently clarified and fixed?
No, the only thing that they asked is that we would hold off our vote on the budget until after we were heard down at the local finance board, which is next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Right,
Okay.
and then we would be here Wednesday night.
Right.
So hence the meeting on the 11th. Okay.
The only change that they required is that in the past, with shared service agreements, where you were the host municipality, they required the total appropriation for shared service to be outside the expenditure cap, regardless of the revenue collected. It was mandated. Well, in 2014, they reversed themselves and said, no, the appropriation outside the cap can only match the revenue that you're collecting. So we have to move money from outside the cap to inside the expenditure cap.
Okay. Does that affect our cap compliance?
It may by about $1,300.
$1,300?
Yes, we may have to do a very minor amendment. The examiner suggested we look at the local finance notice pertaining to the snow emergencies.
Right. See if we can make that adjustment there.
But what will happen next Wednesday is that John and I will return from Trenton, come back up here. We will take any necessary action on the budget, hopefully adopt, and then we'll adopt the ordinance for the tax appeals.
Okay. Questions or comments from council to John and Dave before we open it for public hearing?
I just have a question. When the state reviews, do they look at the budget on how the money is spent in the town, and do they look at non-recurring items in line item in each budget category?
What do you mean by non-recurring line items?
So if you put a roof on in 2000 and you left the same amount of money in there to put a roof on, when you don't need a roof the following year and you don't take that money out, do they check for those things?
In theory, the division has no control over individual line items except for debt service and deferred charges.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for David or John before the public hearing? There being none, motion to open item 1 for public hearing?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Folks, questions, comments? Brian?
Is the
Come
money
up to
for
the
my budget
podium.
for trucks?
Yeah, you're gonna have to come up so, because of the tape recorder, sorry.
Hi, Brian Weeks.
Yes.
I was wondering if the line item for a new pickup truck was still in my budget? Or not pickup, but a new vehicle?
It was in, I believe it was
That
in
wasn't
capital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has not been changed? Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
I do have one more question.
For me.
No, sorry.
I apologize for coming this
I
late.
know.
That's okay, you're working.
We're out.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Grass
No
needed.
problem.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I do have one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
The open space, where you changed it in the budget, and you said there was, some kind of, new way or law or something that they wanted it on this specific page rather than where it was before. When did that go into effect?
I didn't state that there was a new law. What I said was when the budget was examined by the state in 2011,
Mhm.
they said we had the debt service payments coming from open space in 2 places, the same payment, and that we should not do that. So in
Oh,
2014,
sorry.
It's okay, just those.
we
Sorry.
went ahead and
It's no big deal. I just thought I was hearing
Sorry.
things.
Okay.
It's okay.
I have a
and
babysitter.
eliminated from the current fund, we just kept it in open space.
So in 20, so did you know in 2011 that that was going to, that was supposed to change? I'm not understanding how, if it was in 2011, it didn't change until 2014, actually.
We kept it in both places for 2011, 2012, and 2013. Coming up to a state exam year, we made the decision to eliminate it in the current fund. It really changes nothing.
Okay, you just said that they wanted it changed the way it was.
I said we were criticized for having it in both places. So
Okay,
we took the proactive step to eliminate it in the current fund to avoid further criticism.
okay, thank you.
Dumb that down for me, Dave. What does that mean to me?
What happens is we go for a state exam every 3 years.
Mhm.
In 2011, they said, hey, why do you have it in this place and in this place? You really should only have it in one place. So we came up in 2014 for a state exam again. I said, okay, well, they criticized us for doing it, so I kept it out.
And it affects budget items, it affects our budget in no respect.
It has no impact whatsoever on what's happening.
Bookkeeping issue.
It's a criticism of how you do your bookkeeping.
Yeah,
That's
right?
correct.
That's it.
They were
Yeah.
rhetorical
Yeah.
question.
But yeah, if you, so if you were criticized in 2011, why didn't you just change it then?
Because I didn't feel it was an issue.
Okay,
Did you feel it lead probably to more confusion
Yes.
on our part?
And the only reason I took it out in 2014, let me restate this, 2 reasons. One is it's a state exam year, and I wanted to not have to address the issue again. And secondly, I didn't want to have a budget issue obfuscate the tax appeal issue that we're hearing from the local finance board.
Right.
So that's why I did it. Has no impact whatsoever on the spending plan of the municipality.
yeah, I know that it doesn't have a spending impact. I was just wondering why, if it was criticized, you wouldn't have changed it then, even though, and then you change it now when it's going back to the state. That's,
Because I disagreed with the criticism in the first place. But sometimes in dealing with the state, it's just easier
Right.
to acquiesce than debate.
okay,
We go through this at work all the time. We get criticisms, and some of them you'll fix because you may agree with them. Other ones you're like,
Well, this issue of the shared service, where they said, well, no, it has to go in the cap. For years, they mandated it go outside, and they made us change the budget to move it out. But after a while, maybe it's my old age, I just throw up my hands and say, do whatever you want. Let's just move on, because it doesn't change anything.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else have public questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Marla Endick, 10 Byron Drive. I don't understand all this stuff, but I just want to know the actual number of what the budget is. Is that the number at the top of sheet 3A, 6,500,000 or so? Is that like the budget for the year? Like, what's the number?
That was 2013.
Oh, 2000, what's the 2014 number? Is that right, the next sheet?
$7,016,836.95.
Okay.
Page before, halfway
Okay.
down the line.
And then when we met, I don't know if it was last month or the prior month, and we had the first version of the budget, what was that number at that time?
It hasn't changed, has it?
You
No.
didn't change anything?
No, it went for state examination after the last meeting.
Okay. So in between the first reading and the research and the cutting and, well, whatever the research was you guys did, there's been no change in the actual number, the final number?
No, there hasn't actually. Or
Okay.
my changes were thrown away.
Okay, so the number is the same as it
Yeah.
was a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Mr. Swim, you had a question?
I do.
It was already asked.
It was answered. but I'll
Okay,
ask it
no
again
problem.
anyway. There was like a $40,000 difference between the initial workshop and the first introduction, and I heard two council members, I think it was Don and Lori, suggest there was $100,000 more to be found.
those are
I think
in
you asked
cuts.
that. I
In
think you
cuts,
answered.
yeah. And I did go and I met with Betty and I went over what I had was I had about $150,000 worth of cuts, and we went back and forth, whittled it down to a smaller number. But at that point, we decided, because of the way things have been going so far in the years, particularly with the expense with salt that we've been hit with, that to cut anything out of this budget would leave us with a deficit at the end of the year.
I think you said there were
I-
errors or cuts.
There was a mathematical error, 2.8 versus 28%. They said it was corrected, but the budget number never went down, so.
Well, that was because more expenses were coming in as they were doing the budget. More things, they were finding out that more things had to be taken care of. I believe that's when we figured out the amount of the salt, which really hit us pretty hard.
But on top of that, wasn't the problem just the period was in the wrong spot? It didn't affect your math?
Yeah,
Put it in.
no, but I think what Donna's trying to say is that there was a math error, so it should have brought it down,
It
but it
wasn't a
didn't
math error, it was a
change.
typing error, is what it was, right?
No, it wasn't. It was a math error.
But I think what she's trying to say is, why didn't the number go down? But that's because as we were going through the process, more things are being added to the budget as department heads were doing their research.
So that number, I was told a multitude of reasons why that number was that way, and, one of them was, I can't believe the auditor didn't catch that.
That was not,
Can I, what
Go
is it was I supposed to catch?
Well, when you presented the budget in March at the budget workshop, you said you've reviewed the budget and you've given it to us, and the only way to cut anything in the budget was to reduce your expenditures.
Yeah,
So-
I said that.
Right, so that means that you reviewed the budget.
I did
No.
not review, nor have I ever. My role here is to offer guidance on how to,
Don't confuse him with being a CFO.
yeah,
No,
comply
I'm not.
with
We are sort
I
of.
know.
law. It is not my responsibility nor my role to look at police S&W and say, wow, you've got too much in salaries here. No, it's to make sure that you are in compliance with the cap laws, that the
Right.
debt service is calculated correctly, and things of that nature. So I have no control.
I get that, but on
he just
the
copied the
sheet,
numbers Betty gave him.
Good.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
on the sheet that was given, I mean, that number was incorrect on the worksheet. It was
I can only
incorrect.
go off the numbers that I get from the CFO.
Right,
If the CFO gives me an incorrect number, my number is going to be incorrect.
right, but the number was incorrect.
I would have no way of knowing that.
Okay, but the number was incorrect on there. The 2.8 versus 28% was added incorrectly on the sheet.
It was a worksheet. I was in the wrong spot.
That's like,
But it wasn't fixed.
with all due respect, that's
Yeah.
like blaming the customer for that because the chef didn't put an egg in the cake batter. Dave's there to look at it and say, yeah, it looks like a cake and it smells like a cake and it's got icing on it, so it's probably a cake. Back in the kitchen, Betty's the one who goes through the recipe and puts it all together. You don't.
I get that. I know, I understand. I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
We addressed the fact there was a mathematical error in the worksheet, an Excel worksheet for the workshop,
Right,
which was since then corrected. Additional things were added to the budget, pulled around, moved around. After that, we reviewed it. the staff reviewed it, department heads reviewed it. We made sure it was good. I think this happens every year. I don't know anybody who doesn't make mistakes. And then it goes, but Dave doesn't look at what's in the number. He just moves it
Yeah,
to the sheet.
I understand that, and I understand that mistakes happen. But when another answer I got was that, it was being thought of that number actually needed to go into the DPW, expenses and salaries and wages. So, I don't know why the increase was. Where's the justification that the salaries and wages in DPW went up and the, operating expenses went up? It's all because of the salt.
Yes, once we get all the bills in.
So,
I'm not talking about, you just give pay raises. Last month, you made a motion to increase the pay raises to
Yeah.
your recommendation.
right,
And
but
we
that
had a
was
lot of
before,
overtime too.
that money was added before the motion was made. that
In
money was
anticipation.
In
added.
anticipation, you had been talking about it leading into it.
We have the same thing for the
After
police. It's in anticipation.
Well, there was also an error on the, revenue page. There was, a debit on the revenue page in the trial balance. Did you not, you don't review that
I
either?
have no idea what you're referring to. Forgive me. Can I
Okay,
take a look at it?
sure. Current fund revenues, $35,000 debit.
Okay.
Right,
The budget that was given to me to develop the form that you're working on tonight did not come from this form. So
but the worksheet and everything came, these are,
you may very well have gotten this.
mhm,
I didn't.
okay.
So whether there's a debit or not in the revenue, I wouldn't know. And I
So-
don't know how it would pertain to aggregating the CFO's appropriations to come up with a plan that you have for your budget.
But this is the trial balance, this is the actual numbers. And
So,
were they not audited?
yes, they were.
When were they audited?
I
have it,
don't have, you got the audit draft in front of you.
Everyone has one tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
It's right here. So if you're looking at a raw trial balance, there will be things in there that need to be adjusted.
Mhm.
And I'm more than happy to, either John or myself sit with you to go through all of the adjusted journal entries that we make to Betty's trial balances, which is quite normal.
But this was also presented exactly like this at the introduction.
I cannot control what CFO presents to you. The only thing I can control are the documents that my firm does. That was not prepared by my firm, so I can't help
Okay.
that.
So you don't look at that at all when you're
Well, first of all, it
presenting the
was never
budget?
given to me. And we take the trial balances and we look at them, we audit them, we make adjustments and go forward. When and how Betty conveyed that to you is beyond my control.
All right. This horse is sufficiently dead.
Not
There are other
really.
public, we'll come back to
I
it then.
think-
We're in the middle of public comment, so
Yeah.
let's take our public comment, and then when we're done with public comment, we can go back and continue to do this ad nauseum. But for the time being, let these folks ask their questions before they forget them.
Yep.
I long since forgot some of mine. Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Wozicki, 56 Puddingstone Way. Can you give an overview of how you, of your expenditures and your income difference between last year's budget and this year's? So that we can, instead of us trying to find and compare the two, if you could just present to the public what changes you have made from last year's to this year's, and as far as reallocating funds or expense items or what have you. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, not line item by line item.
Well, no, but general categories then.
All right, well,
Yeah, I don't have my notes with me either. I mean, if off the top of my
hold
head,
on.
Okay, here we go.
Got a page reference?
there is
No, it's just a email that I sent to
Dave, and I copied you.
What do we do?
Okay, we recommend, okay, that's to date, to spent. No, that's not it. I didn't bring it with me tonight. I can go back in my office.
No, you don't need to go back to the office. I mean, the documents are made
Could
available.
we, I mean, maybe we could email something to
Maybe I
Suzuki?
could send an email out to someone if they'd like to know specifically.
Could you
A specific- Can you send to me specifically what you want to know?
I think she's asking for almost a comparison of like item, line item by line item.
Each line item?
No, not necessarily, just some general categorical differences. If you took 10% out of DPW budget,
Well, for
For this
instance,
year
like
versus-
capital fund versus whatever, what we budgeted in DPW last year versus
We
this
have the
year.
spreadsheet that we were working off of.
you know,
That's probably what she wants to see.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
just so that we can see the results of your effort, of your workshop effort, and what changes or improvements as a result of the spreadsheet.
If you want to give me your email address.
Okay.
It won't show any, I mean, it shows just, it's just aggregate. It shows last year to this year.
5 years.
Mhm.
That's fine. Cool. Who else? Questions, comments? Yes.
Olszewski, Highlands Way. I have to say I'm a little disappointed. I know Ms. Chesler, she stated in the last meeting she found errors, she found places where we could cut, and that we, at the end of the day, end up at the same number we started with. And you guys, I think the only expenditures you guys named was salt. What other expenditures do we have within the last 3-4 weeks, which would bring the budget back up to where we started?
It was, my cuts were based on my recommendations, just, and they were not agreed with. So
Who did not agree?
apparently nobody.
You didn't agree?
I didn't.
So, besides the salt, is there anything else in expenditures we had?
We have a lot. I mean, you're talking about, we're just talking in general. Like, I tried to whittle down certain areas, like, taking money from each budget. I really couldn't touch the DPW because we've already spent the majority of his money. So, and we still have to deal with, October, November, December. That could possibly be just as snowy as this past winter. So we have to keep, there's like a formula that you try to figure out the salt. And this year, I mean, we already have the bill. So that has to go into his number. But there's increases in different salaries, the police, health, is it health insurance? Both insurances went up.
Yes.
Health insurance, even though, I mean, health insurance went up and there is, unemployment was, yes. That was big because we're a very small community, so we don't have a big unemployment fund with the state.
Okay.
So when we have somebody full-time go out, we're gonna have to pay.
And the errors in the budget which you have found, they're correct?
It was only an error on the spreadsheet.
Okay.
And once we got to that, and again, it's not, these numbers are based, it's an appropriation, so we have to try to see what we're going to spend in the future. We don't know for sure for some things. And one of the things we're going to get hit on bad this year is natural gas, which is very expensive. Same thing with, gasoline has been about the same, if not a little more expensive. The only way we can figure out what to budget for that is pretty much based on what we spent last year and if we know the prices. So it's very, again, it's like we're trying to predict the future. At the same time, we don't want to be in the position where we have to borrow money at the end of the year. Because that's not looked well upon by the state. So that's, we're
Raise it to next year and take out of your surplus.
like, yes, like we had it, right.
Trying to build up your
Mhm.
surplus. You want to have at least $1 million surplus.
I spoke to Lou, and I think the goal, he said, is for you guys to build up a surplus of $1 million by in 3, 4, 5 months.
No, months.
Months?
I think we're at 250 right now, and hoping by this budget, if we stay within our expenses we'll be at $500,000 next year. We can add another
We
250.
were at half a
if things
million,
go well.
290. At the end of this year, we're hoping to have at least $500,000 in surplus.
Okay?
If things go well,
If things go well, right. Depending on what your expenses are going to be for the rest of the year.
right. We have another Sandy or another huge snowstorm, and we could eat up a lot of money.
Emergency rise up, anything, I don't know. Thanks.
In response to Ms. Rozicki's question, I think for anybody that actually has the budget package with you, she's talking about what starts at page 12. Now, Lee, it only, as I said, it only goes back, it's 13, 14 comparisons, doesn't go back any further, but, I mean, that kind of gives you sort of item by item comparisons where some of the changes were. Scrolling through, police there was a big change in police. Police salaries, for instance, went up from 1,635 to 1,7. There's in other expenses under police, we went from 75, page 15 right there, of that. You're in the same worksheet that I'm in?
Same one.
All right. Police, for instance, went from $75,000 in 13 to 125, but we're buying new police cars this year. We're entering into leases to be able to renew on a yearly basis. It was cheaper that way. Took $1,000 out of emergency management services. Under roads and repairs, last year under salaries and wages for streets and roads, we were at 265. This year we're at 280. Other expenses, we went from 145 to 212. Is that the truck?
If you look
No,
at,
that's
look
the
at
saw.
last year's budget to this year's budget, it's up about 400,000,
Right.
Mhm.
which is your capital
Which is
equipment
capital.
and your police cars.
Mhm. Yeah,
And that's, Lee, did you hear that?
So that's basically.
Did you hear
That's
Dave's
pretty much it.
response?
yeah.
The budget between last year and this year is $400,000 more, and it's a result of two things, effectively, which is the police cars, which are just $75,000 approximately, and the DPW equipment. And those are the significant additions.
Yeah, our capital,
I mean, to the extent we have other things, to the extent we referred to a roof last year or whatever it was, and, maybe we're not putting a roof on this year and it's $20,000, that money ends up either getting moved at the end of the year. For those of you that have been coming regularly, you see beginning in October or whatever it is, when we start moving money around, November, we start shifting money from line item to line item to cover places where we may have needed things and we had extra money in the budget, or, or if we're fortunate and we don't run over, at the end of the year, we have money to put into to help build up a surplus again, so that in lean years you can dip into that surplus if need be, to try to lessen the tax burden, the tax increase burden, the rate burden. So I appreciate the notion that we should be pulling $1,000 from here, $1,000 from there, and that's great if you want to live paycheck by paycheck. But the reality of the situation is these guys are trying to be prudent and plan ahead, and whether or not we call it a roof, or whether or not we take that $20,000 and stick it under streets and roads, other expenses, and instead of it saying $212,000, it's $232,000, and we don't need to spend it. That money either gets shifted and used in some place where we do. If we have a bad winter or a dry summer, or some of the sinkholes that we've had to contend with in years past, or fortunately none of those things happen, and end up putting it away and helping to build that surplus from the $250,000 at which it currently stands to somewhere closer to $500,000. So that's the rationale behind the numbers being where they are and why they are where they are, and the budget remaining the same as it is, because I think that the premise is that it's an investment in hopefully putting money into a surplus to build it up, so that somewhere down the road, the school has, we've had this situation before, when they built the new school, and the school had, Jimmy, correct me if it's been a while, 16 or 17 or 18 cent increase, and we tried to have none, or we might even reduced it a penny or two to kind of lessen the burden. So it's great to look at it in a vacuum, folks, but I don't think as a council you have that luxury. You have to try to look forward down. You have to look a little further down the road and try to anticipate what some of the other issues you may have. So anyway, there were other questions.
This is basically, I believe, what you said. I just want to clarify I'm reading the lines correctly. So between 2013 and 2014, there's a larger anticipated surplus. That's what you were talking about, the extra 250 or whatever it is.
We hope.
Pardon?
We hope.
Yeah, okay, that's the anticipated surplus. And then the total by taxes went up.
Page.
That's page 11, but I might be an additional. I believe that's just a reflection of the tax increase, right? Okay. There was another one, if I read it right, there was a bond principal. It was paid in 2013 and 2014, and it's just for my education. What's the difference?
It's the interest rate,
Mhm.
whatever that bid comes in,
Okay,
bid on that annually.
okay.
Anybody else? Public questions? All right. Motion to close, Jimmy.
Just one comment, I think, what probably we need to know is that 6, 7, 8 years ago, when the interest rates were higher, I think Betty had garnered almost $250,000 just in interest for us to put over the budget. So we have to understand that that's all, that's
Yes.
insane. Your income is going down, so that's one area that you need to, remember.
Thank you.
Can I just respond to where the numbers are and, the roof or however that
Yeah,
goes?
well, let's close the public hearing. As long as they're done, then we'll be all right.
Okay,
We can
sure,
have a
okay.
free flow again. Any other questions from the public? All right. Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, fire away.
I just wanted, last time we talked about, I brought up, zero-based budgeting versus baseline budgeting. And you told the public basically it's illegal to do that, which is not true. But I wanted to explain a little more because I'm guessing you're not understanding what I mean by zero-based budgeting. It's not an accrual versus a cash thing. What it is having a worksheet for everyone, every department, and putting down what your needs are, starting from a zero number and working the way up, rather than just keep carrying over numbers, your base from the prior year. That leads to excessive spending doing it that way. If you did it this way, and it doesn't need to be done year after year, I understand it's a tedious process, but if you did that every couple of years and just started at the beginning again, I think a lot of this would be avoided. When you carry over numbers, you carry over errors too, and the numbers here were carried over for a certain area, and a wrong number was carried over. And this is what I'm just trying to say, is that I think if you start from the beginning and start from scratch and have each department accountable for what their needs are, wants, needs, whatever, on a sheet and go through it, I think that is a better way to do it than to just simply take last year's number and the year before that and keep carrying over those numbers.
Okay. I respectfully disagree with you in one respect. I think we're talking about apples and oranges. You made what I interpreted as a blanket statement that we should be approaching our budgetary process from a zero-based budgeting perspective. And I indicated to you that the New Jersey statutory scheme does not allow that. We have to operate from a cash balanced budget perspective. I stand by that. That is absolutely accurate. That's what the New Jersey code provides. The legislature requires, and that's what the state requires for us to do. Now, if you're suggesting that from a practice of stripping down the budget from a year-to-year basis and putting zeros in every line and then going back and filling in the blanks again as zero-based budgeting, I hear you. I don't quite frankly know how our CFO does her job, but I suspect if she did that and went back to zero, she's still going to have to go back and figure out some benchmark. For instance, in postage, she budgeted $9,500 in 2013. In 2014, she's proposing $8,500. Sure, she could have put zero all down page 12 and then go back. But in order to do that, she would have had to go back and look to see what she spent in 2013 in postage, and probably 12 and 11 and 10 too. Otherwise, she would have just stuck a number in there for the sake of guessing. At the end of the day, it would have meant nothing. And quite frankly, produced completely unreliable results for us. Same, quite frankly, for instance, for mayor and council salaries and wages. And I've been here for 15 years, and I don't think council has taken a pay increase of any kind in the 15 years that I was here. Jim was here for a few years before that. I think Bill was here for a few years before that. And I bet if you polled every one of them, they'd tell you the same thing. So she could have put zero there too, but when she went back and started preparing the budget again, it still would have been $17,071 and no cents, because it would have been the same number for the last 20 years. So I hear what you're saying. I'm quite confident that Betty, in doing what she does, engages in some similar practice, but quite frankly, simply starting at zero means you still have to go back and look at historical benchmarks, or else all you're doing is simply guessing, and that would wreak financial havoc on us and anybody else that manages a a checkbook. I'm quite sure that if you balance your own checkbook, or sit there and budget your expenses for your household on a monthly basis, at least I would hope, you go back and look at what last year's utilities bills were to figure out what you might need to spend this year. Otherwise, quite frankly, I could ask you to just say to me, tell me what I need to spend on electric bills in 2015, and you would have no idea because you have nothing to measure it against. We use our past expenses to give us a gauge for what we're going to spend in the future, and I can't, quite frankly, and like I said last time, after I read all that stuff about zero-based budgeting and cash balance budgeting, I told you then I didn't want to be an accountant, and I'm glad I'm not. I still don't want to be one today, and for all the same reasons I said last time, but I know this much. Unless you have an historical reference, your budgeting means nothing, and I don't know how else we would do it but for looking at what we spent in the years past. Whether you put a zero in the line and then fill it in from there, or you put $8,500 in the line and fill it in from there, the fact of the matter is the mathematical formula that gets us there is going to be the same every time we do it.
But that's not what I wasn't proposing putting zeros on every line. No, I wasn't.
I don't know.
To start with.
No, I was not. This is,
I think he means like you
I don't know.
go and you say,
Mr. Hall
okay.
apparently heard the same thing.
okay, well, let me try and
I know
explain
he
that a
didn't
little
mean that
better.
on this sheet.
You take your worksheet before you make your
Right.
budget and you write,
Bring it to zero.
no, you don't bring it to zero. You put down your wants and your needs, you do an analysis, you take last year's numbers, you take the year before's numbers, you look at what is projected, you try and you do it that way rather than just take the number and shove it over. And, you know, there are some instances, yeah, you're going to be over in a lot of places, just like you would now, but this is a better way to do it than to just keep carrying numbers over. You carry over errors with those numbers. If you never check those numbers, how do you know that you have errors or you have recurring items in there? I have an error here because you carried over a number and that number is incorrect.
Was the number incorrect the year before? Or was it just wrong when it got typed into the new line?
No,
I
because,
have fat thumbs, and I know when I type stuff all the time, occasionally,
no,
I tend to hit an extra zero or my period in the wrong spot. And it's not as a result of me simply carrying over from the last time. It's a result of a...
It's not. Unfortunately, it's because there was, as I was saying before, there was a debit in the revenue, and that number, the incorrect number was carried over to the next year. And, you know, it's wrong. It's just a wrong number. And you're going to look at that and say, wait a minute, why am I $35,000 difference? Because there was an error.
How many line items, Betty, do we have to go through? Do you go through? How many?
14,000 entries.
14,000 entries?
Basis of just the budget alone.
Okay. And what do we got? You got one? How many other ones do we got? She made one mistake
Yeah,
carrying the number?
No, that's just one that I just happened to find. I mean, there's thousands of entries.
Yeah, well, we just got to that. 14,000. We got one. So
Right.
what were the other ones?
And-
First, she screwed up carrying, I'm sorry. No, you know what I mean. Percentage-wise, 1 in 14,000 isn't so bad.
Well, I
and
didn't
it got
look at all
fixed.
14,000, so I can't really say that
Well,
there's
Betty
only
looked
one
it
in
up.
14. Well, Betty, well, why would she leave an error in there if she looked at it?
Well, my point is, if somebody missed one line in 14,000 lines,
Right. What I'm getting at is there is a better way to do it than to just simply carry a number over. There needs to be a process, and this isn't a process. By writing down on a piece of paper or making a phone call, this is what I need this year, is not a process. And you need to have some kind of documentation to back up what you're spending your money on, some justification. There is no justification this way. You're just taking numbers and moving them over.
That's all it is.
Then why wasn't that found? That's what I'm saying.
Just got the audit.
An audit is for, no, an audit doesn't tell you how to spend your money. An audit is to see if you recorded it, or not even, because you said it isn't. That's not what an audit is. An audit doesn't tell you what your budget is.
all right, Donna, thanks. You've managed to point out that unfortunately, somebody might have missed one line out of 14,000.
No, that's
Or
not
two
what
or
I
three.
pointed out.
What's that?
There are no.
There are no wants in this.
That's not what I
No one's-
pointed out.
Okay. But I guess we'll, at least from my perspective, agree to disagree. Outside of that, do we have, anybody else have any other questions
Yeah,
related to the
I just-
budget itself?
I do. Just, as far as like the wants versus needs, we really don't have any wants in those line items. The wants are in the capital, line item. Of course, there's always going to be errors of some sort, and the audit is done. Unfortunately, technically, I think we're supposed to introduce our budget in what, March?
Yeah.
By statute? Okay. So we need to get it
February
done.
by statute.
February by
I don't have any
statute,
problem
yeah.
Getting it done, that's,
No, so I mean, you have to have some basis to do this. And I understand that you want to do it a different way. The only thing is now it's June. So
Not for
because-
this year, it's too late for this year.
Exactly, so
Right.
for this year, and it was too late in April for this year. And it's great, what I think we need to do is if you could make a proposal and actually do an example, like for instance, maybe take DPW. Again, you can't do it with you can't do it a lot of line items in a municipal budget. It doesn't lend itself the same way as it would to corporate. Because there aren't necessarily projects, like Brian's gonna have salt and snow removal, fixing roads and fixing vehicles. Like, those aren't projects that he wants to get approval. Those are projects he needs to do to keep the town running.
Exactly.
So it is at a little bit of a different, like, when you get to the capital line, that's where we can sit here and do the actual, this is what I want, this is what I think it should be.
Exactly.
But I think maybe if you could put something together to kind of show the difference between the two and how maybe somebody like Brian would go about doing it. So this way, if we wanted to, we could review it and we can implement it for next year. Because from what I've read, we do need to get a jump start on next year's budget, probably within the next 2 months, in order to implement this. So if you could do that, I think it might save us all the hassle of having to rehash it every meeting. And then this way we could get a clear example of what it is without us having to do our own research, because we do have our own other, items we're trying to deal with.
Of course, but maybe I would have appreciated that a little more when I did bring it up, instead of trying to discredit me and what I was saying
hoping
that
you were
I
going to
would.
bring it, but if you could just do it, because I think if we could have something to look at within the next couple months and we wanted to implement something like that, I think if we could get it done by September, I think that we might actually be able to look at it for next year's budget if we could do it by September.
If you're, we could have avoided all this and 2 months worth of this had of, it would have been asked.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't give you the suggestion beforehand, but if you could do that, I think that would be good. I think that would get us to a place. So maybe, like I said, if within the next couple months you can give us some examples and just take a couple, it'll have to be like the OE line items. Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the council? All right, is there a motion? Oh, that's right, we gotta wait. You're waiting until.
You gotta wait till the last.
All right. So moving on, item number 2. Did we adopt minutes yet?
We don't have any minutes.
Okay. Item number 2 is ordinance number 2014-5, second reading and public hearing to establish an athletic fields and recreational facilities use policy and to establish rules authorizing the Lopatcong Township Council to establish recreational fees by resolution. This was your.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Good night, Dave. John, take care.
At the last meeting, we introduced ordinance 2014-05, establishing our use policy. It's been online. I don't know if anybody has any questions, so if we could open it to public comment.
Motion to open item 2 for public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Folks, question, comments? Yes.
Alex Leist, 505 Red School Lane. Now that there's going to be a fee, is there a way to make sure that the fields will be dragged for our son, a member of the Lopatcong Men's Softball League, that they will be dragged or maintained for the Wednesday and Sunday games, or is there a way that we can commandeer the thing that does it and do it ourselves?
Brian, do you want to speak to that? I don't know what kind of equipment you want. No?
I don't have the manpower. If you give me more people, I can do that. I'm not being disrespectful. These guys are working all over.
Mhm.
They're asking them to come in on a Sunday morning. So you can play ball, rough, all right, they're turning down everything now.
Is there a way that we can,
If we could come up with something a different way,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that, we can address it, but make a decision right now.
Okay. We could table that then. We could,
Okay.
we could, so you need,
That's and then what do we do to guarantee the fields for our league?
what we're looking to do is we want to have a master schedule. So this way, once you give me your games, we'll put them on there and everybody has to use the same
Okay.
schedule. And it'll be available to, the, town hall staff as well, so that everybody knows, so they won't,
Right. Do we know when that's going to happen? Because our games start in 2 weeks.
do they? Okay, if you could send us that, we can put it, I'm also the LAA liaison, so if you send
Okay.
that to us, we can put it into the calendar we have running.
Okay, very good.
Yes, Brian?
Thank you.
We don't mind lacrosse fields, we don't mind the people coming in.
Yes.
We don't drag any fields on weekends. We don't drag anybody that is traveling teams. All right, you're paying for a field, you're not paying for a professional. All right, you're paying for a field usage. All right, that's always been a standard that you'll take care of that. All right, not, spend it all, because you're gonna pay us overtime to come in. All
Well, I
right.
guess my next question is, can we use the machine?
That's
Well-
That's something they have to come up with.
We'd have to, yeah, we'd have to,
I don't think
That
our
would be the
church,
next question.
insurance carrier would like that.
all right, we'll have to,
We don't even do the LEA.
But the LAA does get dragged their own fields.
They have one guy that's qualified and puts people work. That's our reason to be there.
okay.
Is there a way to qualify one of our members?
The LEA is under our insurance policy. That's why they can do it.
Yeah, so maybe we could, I'll bring it to the LAA and see what they could,
Okay.
to work on. We'll definitely do that.
I mean,
Thank you.
most of our players are residents.
Right. Mhm.
Taxpayers and
Yeah.
sponsors are local and everything.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions on item 2? Yes, Riziki.
Could you define the recreational facilities? Is the pool out of it, or you're just looking at the pavilion? You're charging fees?
Well, we do,
Sliding scale for low tax,
yes, yeah. So what, we already have fees in place for the pavilion and for the pool and for the tennis courts, which is a minimal fee. We didn't have any fees for the fields themselves, and what we've been doing is we've been actually trying to barter a little here and there. What we'd rather do is put something in place, for instance, where
Answer, I think, Lee, to answer your question specifically, it adds fields, 157-1 says the facilities affected by this chapter. This chapter shall be the Lopatcong Township Municipal Pool, Lopatcong Township Municipal Pool Parking Lot, sorry, and road system and the Lopatcong Township Pavilion located behind the pool area, including the park, playground, and fields adjacent to the pavilion area and the road systems running to the pavilion area.
So what,
Incorporates everything.
and what we did is we broke things into groups, like for instance, group one, recreation and parks directly sponsored activities. That would be like the LAA. We're not going to charge them anything, of course. Group 3 is like school events. We're not going to charge them anything either. When you get to like group 2, it's team and established leagues that are outside of the LAA. So these are independent organizations. And then we're going to look at the levels of Lopatcong residents. So if they have 75 or more, they're in 2A. 2A would, the fees that I've proposed are either $10 per hour per field or $100 per season, whichever is the lesser. Like, we don't want to come out of the gate like charging an enormous amount of money. It's just any little bit that we can take from here and put in either Parks and Recreations to help with some of the little maintenance items that we have that we run into where we have too many people on the field, and then we go to our soccer season and it's a disaster. And so then we have to pay, it's like the seed, and then you have to rope it off. And so we're trying to at least, I think too, if people have a vested interest in the field, maybe they'll handle it a little better, because we can institute a security deposit as well. So it depends. Like I had said at the last meeting, if we have like a rugby, adult organization coming here, they're probably going to be pretty rough on the field. So we might want to charge them a decent security deposit or bond just in case they completely destroy it, because then we're going to run into our football season, and we need to have our fields in good shape, because the league they won't let us play on them.
And 157.5 League goes further and defines them actually by location. The municipal park, there's like a dozen there, including the field house, the concession stand, the basketball courts, etc. Edward Street, Strikers Road, Park Square, the Aurora Street tennis courts, and Buckley Hill Drive soccer field. So I think it covers everything. Any other questions, comments on item 2? Yes.
Eric Johnson, 361 Stonehead Drive. I just want to be 100% clear that there are no fees to the Lopatcong residents if they just get a group of kids together and they want to go to the park and play a little game. that they're not going to get kicked off our fields. I just want to be 100% clear that that's not the intent.
You only get kicked off if there's a game being
Right.
scheduled. Yeah, no, that's not the intent. This is for like leagues that are coming and they're using our fields like you've seen when you've been up there. Yeah. You know, professional, they have umpires or they have referees. Yeah, that's who we're looking to. Yeah.
I'll give you like the perfect example, Justin. We were at the last LEA meeting that I attended. I guess they have an adult football league that plays up there. We just went through aerating it, reseeding it, doing all this work, and they played after on a wet day and literally tore it up to the point where the road crew was trying to figure out how to patch it up again. That's what's intended to try to address stuff like that.
In a situation like that, I mean, I can't, if the DPW is going through there and they do see kids, you know, mauling the fields, they might ask them to be careful or to get up.
We don't want
Yeah.
our fields destroyed,
Right.
We don't want to discourage.
Right, yeah, no. Like if kids just want to go and play a pickup game of baseball, they're not going to have to pay. Go ahead.
You said Strikers Road?
Yeah, the firehouse field.
Firehouse.
That's it.
Bill, can you come up to the mic? Sorry. Thank you.
That's school district property, not township property.
Oh, that field, okay, all right. We'll take
Okay.
that. Mhm.
So that's covered by our
That's covered by
facility
yours.
use
Oh, okay.
policy. Okay?
All right, no problem. Good, thank you.
Got it. So with that amendment, any other questions or comments? So removing the reference to Strikers
Should've
Road,
sent it to
Firehouse,
him.
baseball, softball field 1 and 2. Motion to close public hearing?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other questions or comments from council? Motion item 2?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilman Kane?
Yes.
Council President Tesla?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes. Under new business, item number 1 is a resolution to renew liquor licenses for the Brass Rail, Strikers Road Golf LLC, and Santram Liquors, Inc. for the term July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. Questions or comments on item 1? Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman O'Hara?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kane?
Yes.
Council President Tesla?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
I'm staying as to the Brass Rail. Yes, just the other 2. Item 2 is a resolution to establish recreational fees for with regard. Resolution to establish recreational fees with regard to the athletic fields and recreational facilities use policy. Is that you?
Yes, that's me. So, what we do is we're going to introduce a resolution, and we have the ordinance, and we're doing the fees as a resolution, which means that we can change them more frequently, less costly, and we can do it like if we want to change it, it's changed the night that we do the meeting. So this way, it's not going to be, if we find that the fees aren't good and we need to adjust them, we can take care of it right away. I can run through them really quick. Group A, $10 per hour per field or 100 per season, whichever is the lesser. Group 2B, 25 per hour or 250 per season, whichever is the lesser. Group 2C, $50 per hour or $500 per season, whichever is the lesser. The difference between those groups are the percentage of Lopatcong residents on the town. Group 4 is mostly for businesses. For profit corporations and businesses, we would charge $250 per day per field. Group 4 for nonprofit, we would charge $50 per day per field. Group 5 would be tournaments. There might be some estimates of what we would need to have as far as security with the police for a tournament if we were holding it, and those we would incorporate those as well. We would also charge them $100 per day per field. If we were doing camps for Group 5, again, for camps, the fee would be $5 per camp participant plus $50 per day per field. The $50 per day per field portion may be adjusted for services or equipment provided to the township. So if maybe they're bringing a lot of stuff with them, including, people to clean up and stuff, we may lower the fee. For the basketball courts for groups 1, 2, and 3, that would include the LAA, that includes any of those outside groups that have Lopat residents, and 3 are the schools, there's no fee. Group 4, for profit corporations, we would just charge them $50 per day. For nonprofit, it's $20 per day. Tournaments, again, we go back to like the $50 per day, and any other things if we need, again, police here for that. And the camps is $5 per camp participant plus $50 per day. Security deposits we would only require them on groups 4 and 5, either security deposit or bond in an amount not to exceed $5,000. That would be the most, but it would probably be much less. And release of the security deposit would be after we see that the fields are in good condition. We're also saying that fees and security deposits can be adjusted or waived at the discretion of mayor and council. So if there is a need where you feel like maybe you shouldn't be paying any fees, you can come to us and we can either adjust them or waive them. And then again, this resolution can be updated at any time if the need exists to permanently change any of the fees included within.
Questions, comments?
I just got one question more. Under tournaments, it's like an LAA tournament, like soccer.
Right, yeah, that's no. It would be more like, I'm thinking like some of the baseball tournaments that we had, or like, you know, like if you're in a travel soccer team and we're having a huge tournament here, yeah. Because for those, we may need, you know, police presence or DPW.
Here, can I have everybody first?
Oh, sure.
The LA,
We
what's
got
your address?
27 Brad.
Mr. Weeks.
I don't know what you just said here, but.
You said you'd come up.
Come up.
She was questioning the distinction between like LAA versus some third party
Yeah.
outside and coming in and running a different tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
My question was, all these groups that are coming in, we had the kickball tournament. All right, we're in the kickball cleanup after really great.
Right.
About that, but the outlet play, these teams are coming in and people are coming in and we have to pick up 60, 70, 80 bottles of water. All right, so somehow I'm asking you to get it in your thing that, you know, if you're gonna rent it out to these people, if there's a money come back or something. If you want me to clean up after you,
Okay.
you choose not to. All right, maybe you forfeit next time you play.
Okay.
Something needs to be put there because it's getting out of hand.
Okay.
And you need to, the LA hasn't fixed that. You will fix the days and break them in. Okay, that needs to be put in there also.
Okay.
The field that you found is not destroyed.
And I know we're drafting up a contract too, so we might be able to put some of those things in there.
Yeah.
So I'll check that.
Yeah, some kind of deposit that,
Yeah.
guarantees clean up.
Right.
They don't clean
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I really
deposit.
don't even want to that one. I feel that you need to clean it because what happens is
Yeah.
money doesn't mean nothing to the people sometimes. All right, it's easy to have people do it for them. I don't want to spend 3 hours cleaning up after yourself. Right. You have to walk.
Right.
All right.
Because we'll have a contract too we have to approve. Yeah.
Just a quick question on that, like when you say to rake, do you put a clause in there like you have to bring a rake with you? I mean, like how would that?
They're there.
It's there. Yeah,
The rake's there?
Like
Okay.
there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't know if it was there.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, never mind. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, I just didn't know if they needed to bring their own equipment to rake it. Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions on resolution 3?
Do you have a listing of these groups?
Can we have everybody
Yes.
post podium, please?
She has to do the minutes after.
Alex Light, 505 Red School. Do you have a listing of these groups so I can?
Yes, I can actually give it to you if you want.
That'd be
I have- Yeah, and it's actually listed in the ordinance as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments? Motion item 2.
Motion.
Second.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
yes.
Councilman Del Carro?
Yes.
Councilwoman King?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes, item 3 is a resolution to authorize staff to process an involuntary accidental disability retirement application for a permanently disabled police officer. Based on the chief's recommendation. Questions, comments? Motion?
Motion,
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
yes.
Councilman Del Carro?
Yes.
Councilwoman King?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes, item 4 is ordinance number 2004-6, first reading to provide for funding for the acquisition of court and/or meeting room equipment in the amount of $15,000. Can you give us a breakdown best specifically of what we're buying?
We have already purchased this recording system right here.
That new system. Okay. $15,000. Okay.
Can you share where the funds are coming from? So they understand? Yeah, just to the public so they can understand.
Every so often, we cancel capital ordinances when projects are completed, and we put it back into the capital improvement fund.
So we had this amount to put back in, and we needed it for the upgrade to the system in the meeting room and courtroom here.
Okay. Motion on item 4, first reading.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilor Delgado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kane?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes, item 5 is a resolution to approve discretionary aid. Did we get new microphones or something?
Yes, we did.
Oh, hey. Only took me an hour to figure that out. I just thought I was projecting today. Resolution to approve discretionary aid application for South 3rd Street Improvement Project in the amount of $120,000. Mr. Sturgis.
Yes, at the last meeting, you had directed me to approach the Department of Transportation about rescinding the grant application, or the grant agreement, I should say, for Strikers Road. That was a sidewalk project. And concurrent with that, to try to transfer that money to the South 3rd Street project, which we're about to construct. So I submitted that request into the DOT. That is under review right now. That is something that will be reviewed by the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation, not the Mount Arlington Local Aid Office. The Mount Arlington Local Aid Office did make a suggestion that we seek, concurrent with the request we already submitted for the rescission of the grant agreement and transfer monies, try to seek monies through the discretionary aid fund. These are monies that are turned back into the DOT from local aid project and are repackaged by the commissioner on a need basis. So that's why you have that resolution on the agenda tonight, is to seek monies in the event that the commissioner were not to approve the transfer of the monies from the Strikers Road agreement.
Okay. Based on Mr. Sturman's recommendation. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Delgado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kane?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes. Item number 6 is to approve the planting of 2 trees in the park, one in honor of Lou Rita by the Phillipsburg Rotary and one in honor of Michael Constantine, a resident recently deceased. Paul, anything you want to add or aware of? Where are they being planted?
Well, we haven't decided where to be planted yet, but the thought was we have many benches up at the
Mhm.
park, and people like to sit on them, but it's like in the direct
Right.
sun, so it'd be nice to have a tree, a shade tree.
My only suggestion is that Paul take a look at it and, where the road crew is going to plant it.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Delgado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kane?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes. Item 7 is to approve a payment number 2 to Dulane Contracting, Inc. for work completed on the Route 57 pump station in Forest Main reconstruction, in the amount of $251,440.30. Mr. Sturman?
Yes, Mr. Madden issued an email to the Township Council recommending this payment, and they described the progress that's been made to justify this payment in that same email.
Based on Mr. Sturman's recommendation.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Delgado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kane?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes, items 8 and 9 are based on Ms. Enninger's recommendation. Resolution authorizing the exemption of tax sale certificate number 2013-25 and a premium amount of $4,068.30, block 113, lot 17. And a resolution authorizing the redemption of tax sale certificate number 2012-7 and premium amount of $9,261.69, block 68, lot 12. Based on Ms. Enninger's recommendation. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Delgado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kane?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes. Council reports. Ms. Schneider?
Okay, I don't have anything to report on my council reports except for DPW. I just wanted to thank Brian. There was a kickball tournament this weekend, a charity game, and the proceeds went to Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy. Brian came in on a Sunday to sweep the fields and help set it up on his own time, and it was greatly appreciated by the folks who set up the kickball game, and it just made the day even more special that it was all prepared. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much. Mr. Belcarra?
Yeah, I just have one report in the sewer update. But before I say that, I just want to,
I'm sorry, I forgot. I have to make a motion for DPW contract. Sorry. The DPW, the Department of Public Works has a contract that we talked about last meeting, and in the verbiage of the contract, there was their pay for Sunday and holiday overtime. It reads 2%. It was a misprint. It should be 2.5. 2 times, double time. It should read double time and a half. We need to make that change, and the labor attorney is looking to get this contract so we can make it a reality for these guys. So I'd like to make a motion to have that verbiage changed in their contract.
Based on Ms. Schneider's recommendation?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Belcarra?
yes.
Councilwoman McCabe?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes. That's it.
I'm sorry, that's it.
Belcarra?
Okay, as I was saying before, I just have one report, just an update on pump station. But before I go into this report, I just want to thank Tom McKay for winning the primary last night. Congratulations. I want to congratulate all the contestants in the Republican committee who won. Everybody did a lot of hard work. I know for myself, I walked for a month, and today I fit better in my pants. So a positive thing came out from that. But congratulations to all. Getting back to the pump station, the contractor has installed the wet well so far, the valve chamber, and it's currently working to install the piping, valves, and fittings. I'm just going to summarize it. It's going full steam ahead. Okay. There was a meeting with the USDA. Everything's proceeding satisfactory. So everything is good so far. The only thing what they're going to do is because of this winter we had and the delayed start, it's going to prolong the project, obviously. So that's going to be extend the project because of I think they were given 180 days to complete it, but because of to the weather and other things beyond their control, they'll have to go up to 240 days. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, sir.
I have 2 short things. We did have an EDAC meeting this month. Sorry. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. So we did have an EDAC meeting this month. We're continuing to work on ideas for reaching out to our current businesses and ideas to attract new businesses. So it's still a work in progress, and we have a good group of people and some good thoughts on the table. So we hope to make them a reality at some point this year. Second report, we had a planning board meeting last week, and we covered a couple of issues. First one was coordinated help came in. This is the new company that's coming in to take over the property on Red School Lane. They presented their plan to us to discuss their plans for the property. Their application was incomplete. They were just missing some few things they were missing, and they're going to present those again, I believe, on or before the June meeting. And then at the June meeting, we then will be able to have a hearing and listen to the residents' concerns regarding the plans for that property. And they had some good ideas. They did want to include a walking path and some things for the town. So they do seem to be very cooperative, and they do want to hear from us and any concerns that we may have. So if anybody lives over that way, come back in June and present your thoughts, your concerns, and come listen to them. They're very helpful and very responsive. Secondly, George Ritter gave us a report on our town responsibility on our to get approval for the Highlands petition. We still do have to complete some tasks, and it's an ongoing process there. He also mentioned that he discussed the COA study, and he said obviously they're still working on the rules for COA. They're not in place yet. He said some of the preliminary numbers that they tell you how many units the town is supposed to have for COA. And he said if they go with the number that he thinks they're going to go with, we're already in compliance. But again, that's not confirmed and should be
We should know, I guess, when, I think that's the state, when they get around to finalizing that. Lastly, we did touch on Sycamore Landing. They are delayed. They haven't done any, well, maybe they've done some things over there, but they're delayed. They're having their own internal technical issues going on. So hopefully they will start sometime this year. I'm not sure when they get things straightened out. And that's all I have.
I have one thing to add to that.
Yes.
The planning board did complete their ROM study,
Yes.
and it's going to be presented to you at our meeting on June the 11th.
Oh, great. I was just about to ask. Thank
June
you.
11th. Great. Thank you.
Is George
Great.
coming? Pardon? Is George coming?
I can ask him. now.
should.
I have there.
Yeah, some questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Kate. Ms. Jessup?
As far as some of the events we had in May, the first one was the Veterans Memorial dedication. I just wanted to thank everybody that was involved with that, particularly the veterans. I think that was, the ceremony was incredible and all the hard work they put into that, and the memorial itself is absolutely beautiful. So, and there's already been people going up there and sitting and relaxing, reflecting, and that's exactly what they wanted. We also had the Major League Baseball's Alumni Association had a free baseball clinic here in Lopatcong with, I'm going to forget most of their names. Maybe Mayor Steinhardt can help me with some of them. I have a picture of them, but yeah, he was the funniest. And we had about, I think, 8 retired baseball players who worked with the kids. They put them in groups. They walked all around. All this was done on donations from some of our sponsors. And I think the kids had a great time. Afterwards, they had a little autograph signing session. I mean, that was packed, all the kids. I mean, none of them know any of these baseball players. I mean, you know, one of them, I guess, retired like the year before I was born. So these kids certainly didn't know either, but they had a great time with them, and it was a very nice day. We had pizza from Nicolosi's donated, and I know, you know, Paul and Mayor Steinhardt and Mr. Belcaro all donated to the clinic, and it was a really fun day. The weather was perfect. They had a great time. As far as Community Day, it is August 30th. What we're looking to do is we're looking to have community groups sponsor events, kind of like interactive booths. Instead of just having a booth, we like it to be interactive. For instance, if we could get a hospital in to set up a booth and maybe do some kind of like cholesterol screening or blood pressure, little ideas like that. We also want to have the police do a little like a bike licensing thing for the kids, you know, just for fun, have them test their helmets and then go through a little obstacle course. Maybe we can get them a little license. We want to have a fire truck there so the kids can see all the different parts of that. So we're trying to make it like an interactive event, and I'll put more stuff on the website as that comes through. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
Great. I don't have anything today. Tax collector's not here. CFO?
I only have something. The township has earned to date 49 SRECs. The certificates will be created June 27th, and right now at the present value, it's $8,800. Hopefully it'll be $9,000 by July, and we'll sell them.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Sturbins, anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just need the council's authorization to advertise the South 3rd Street project for public bids. So I'd like to get your authorization to do that.
Motion. Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Belcaro.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCain.
Yes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
Yes. Wait, there was a request to raise the pool. Are we raising the pool manager and assistant managers hourly rates from what are they?
Yes, the.
12.50 to 15 and 10 to 12. Is that the deal?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Is that a?
$12.50 an hour to $15 an hour and $10 an hour, right? So,
No, it's $10 to $15 an hour for the pool manager.
Mm-hmm.
And for the assistant, it's $10 to go to 12.
12.
15.
15.
I have a problem.
$10 an hour to $15 an hour?
15.
you gotta use the mic there, Diane.
Ryan Hall, 187 Stony Drive, I have a problem with that. $10 an hour to $15 an hour? I don't get raises like that.
I don't mind them having a raise, but that's a hefty
33, actually
Yeah.
50%, right?
I think the justification
50%.
is that
50%.
he's managing the pool and he's making about the same amount of money as the people who.
I'm an
work there.
assistant teacher and I've got 15 kids. I'm just in the audience, but my vote is no.
Got it. Okay.
How many hours does he work a week?
Probably work up to, 30.
Brian? Brian,
Could you come up, please?
come on up, Brian.
Sorry.
The difference is they hold a license. They hold titles. They hold responsibilities. If they get, kids get sick, they're held accountable. All right. They hold things with the county. They hold things different than sitting there picking up garbage. They hold things different than sitting on a bench. All right. They are accountable at a different level. All right. One gentleman's been there a lot longer, has a lot more experience at it than the other does. All right. That's why I agree with that raise.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that when you hold an accountability that you can put yourself in jail, there's got to be some money that sits with that. All right. And that's my opinion on it.
What is it? They have a CPO and
Yes, they each hold a CPO license, and that is correct.
Certified pool operator, is that what that
Certified
means?
pool operator.
Yeah.
Responsible, on some nights like dance night, there's 500 kids there, so
Mhm.
it's a lot of responsibility, and, I
know there aren't many area pools left, they're all closed, but you know what that recommendation is commensurate with or, consistent with other pools around here, do we know? Eagle Ridge, who else has one? Hebert, Walters Park?
Walters Park, Hackettstown, Belvedere.
Yeah, Mr. Oshetsky.
Oshetsky, Highlands Way, yes, on I think one deciding factor on the pool, Oshetsky Highlands Way, should be, can we afford it? If we can, why not? Is the pool making money? You guys say it does, then why not? Is the pool making money or not?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
You
it is.
No,
have a
it's not.
worksheet to prove that it does.
Yeah.
I have a pool analysis here that I did that is from right off the trial balance. It does not make money.
All right, why don't you hand out yours, and you got one? You got a couple copies. Why don't you go run, Beth, we'll take 5 minutes. Why don't you go run some copies? We'll test your accounting versus Ms. Schneider's.
Yep, that's fine.
We're gonna take a break for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Stay 5, right?
What?
Yes.
Cool. That's awesome. They beat us last time.
Okay.
Saturday day. That's better than looking at it.
Okay. Okay, all right.
You said last time.
Yeah.
Oh, we got like 3 times. Not 3 in there.
Nobody brought in.
Three separate days. Yeah.
So plus, okay, I'll figure out how we can do that.
I did.
No, well, I'm sitting here. Our son said, I said, how'd you do?
You're hot.
This is bad.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
This is.
That's the SLB chair.
I don't belong in there because it's dangerous.
I don't know.
I went, you had it out. The first time I went was last year. It's the first time I've ever been in one of those warehouse stores. Neighbor took me, I was like. No. They were over by the old kids and hospital over there, you know.
Lori?
Yeah, you got any friends?
Memorial Park, there isn't even a meeting.
Yep.
Maybe that's what they're referring to.
I'm referring to the one that's by Edwards. It's over by,
There's two fields there. You have the one just. There is a field.
It's so much input. Oh, yeah, those fields are great.
There's two fields on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's one. That's, you're not the one that's supposed to do. Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, yeah.
So you're okay with that?
All right, okay, so that's fine. No, we don't need to. But this one's, well, let's see. Okay.
So we're good.
Yeah, that one's the one. Yeah, that's good.
It's confusing, and got people coming out of gas stations too. You really gotta really check the situation. Or not looking again, not looking back, like the second time. Yeah, I know, I raised my children. Now busy with my grandchildren.
There's one for each. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna have to. Yep. Like, he said 5 minutes.
The other stuff's supposed to do it?
Yeah, that's the trial balance. That's where all the numbers were taken.
I just didn't want to take something.
Yeah, the problem is, it moves everything around.
All organized. Yeah, did you get the insurance payments that you got? Or something else right there? So what?
Yeah, insurance and the policy that costs too.
They don't travel, so I don't know.
Yeah. Hand it out, that's what we do. Yes, problem. Exactly how it works. Awesome. Doesn't matter. Tom's staying. If you're gonna call a meeting, I'm gonna. Hey, Tom. Tom.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll pay you for it.
I'll be there as the county chairman. We are correct. I'll be bringing the county city squares. So they're gonna be very excited. So,
I know.
It's at a dance competition. Stock up on the
Okay, I assume there
Those in this
there's 7 and 6 because the tie is vacancy.
Yeah, well, we'll cover it.
5 days of vacancy. So, the 7 of us got together today, set up a meeting for Wednesday. Notices went out today. They have the right to do that. You don't have local bylaws, so you operate under my bylaws. So they called a meeting. You guys are welcome to come. Our guess is they'll elect the chairman and vice chairman that night. And they're going to vote for the vacancy. If you're unhappy with that, you'll hire somebody and take the task.
Yeah. I'll ask for
Be a male or a female, any person within the
All right, thank you very much. Good luck. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so I know it's really not. Yeah. No, I read the Bible myself. How did it go? No, no. No, otherwise I will order a recount. That was my list. So no. Yes. I know. Oh, I'm another election. No. This doesn't Parks and Pools. Where's that? I mean, I've already seen it. Why are you? Jim and Mark tied. So what happened is it becomes a vacancy. Even if he does. Yeah. But you're that night. Oh, sure. No problem. Okay. Thank you.
Are we ready?
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started again. All right, so, Donna, you gave us a worksheet, so tell us where we're losing money, please.
Okay, well, in 2012, what I did was I took the numbers right off of our trial balance. I didn't make up any numbers. They're all on here. What I did was I took the pool revenue and the pool expenses, and when you put them appropriately in the categories they belong, in 2012, we lost $12,000, $12,842. In 2013, we made $15,479 because we had a bad summer, because we sent lifeguards home, because we saved $20,000 in salaries and wages. This year, we've put the $20,000 back into salaries and wages, and if we have a good summer and we use the entire salary and wage category, we are projected to lose $12,637. This doesn't coincide with what the council corner says, that we make $25,000. The pool is self-sustaining, and it makes the town $25,000 a year. That is untrue. These numbers are not anything made up. They're directly from trial balance.
Thank you. All right, Betty, you want to go ahead and go through your numbers,
Okay,
please?
I see something right here. Pool memberships for 2012. It is actually $44,267.50.
So where Donna has $24,170.
Right, correct,
And
correct.
where does it say that? Where is the 44,000?
Take your time. Going over.
I think I didn't give myself a copy.
I'll tell you what, let's do this. Rather than do this tonight and sit here and everybody pour through.
Yeah.
We've exchanged reports. You have Donna's figures. Donna and all of us now have yours. We're going to be back here on the 12th anyway. The 11th. I'll be back on the 12th by myself.
I want to add one thing, if you don't mind, with the salary increase. On the payroll roster, we have James Marinelli II worked 214 hours last year, 3.5 overtime, and 75 other hours. And the other James Marinelli worked 500 hours. That's from the payroll register year to date.
He's a DPW employee.
He was.
That's not a payroll register.
Yes, it is. It's a payroll register, quarter 4.
Oh, that, okay. Well, there's more involved in that.
All right, so here's what we're going to do.
But you said 30 hours.
Here's what we're going to do.
A week. Yeah.
A week. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to be back here on the 11th. And now that we've exchanged worksheets on the pool and we got to take a vote on the budget, let's hold the pay raises for the pool people in abeyance. Mr. Olszewski makes a good point. That'll give everybody an opportunity to look at each other's math, and then we'll come back and have a discussion on the 11th as to where we stand, both on a vote on the budget and on this pool quandary, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of it. Fair enough? Betty, that way you can go dig your numbers up. support whatever discrepancies you find and vice versa. So, all right, that covers that. Where were we on that? That was council reports. We did all those. Engineer reports, we did that. Motion to approve, department,
There's no bills.
okay, motion to approve department reports.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Delpera?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeSafe?
Yes.
Councilperson Chesler?
Yes.
Yes. No bills. Folks, questions, comments? Yep, go ahead.
Joe Imhoff, 240 Aurora Street. Comment I should have made under agenda items, but didn't see it until it was too late. New business item number 1, the resolution to renew liquor licenses. Is it a prerequisite of renewing one's liquor license that an applicant's property taxes must be relatively current? For instance, if hypothetically,
Well, you don't have to say hypothetically. Your question is sufficient in its present form, so, I don't know the answer to that.
I'm not sure.
I don't believe so.
I think they just
have to have
it
tax sale clearance and be able to, no complaints, that does not ledge from the state.
This is basically a state application. We follow all the state rules. It just has to be processed locally.
so an applicant,
If the taxes needed to be paid, that would have been a box on the application, and Beth would have had to check that. But if it's not there, then that's not one of the state's requirements. I will double check their application form. I don't have it in front of me, but
okay, so what we're saying is if someone didn't pay their 2013 taxes or their 2 payments in 2014, they could still apply for and have a liquor license passed.
it sounds like.
And does the
We have
municipality
no.
have any control over that at all?
None. We're merely the paper processors. That the state is in control of all of that. It's the ABC. If you have a problem, you can call
Yeah,
the Division of
does-
Alcohol Beverages Control. They'll answer your question.
I'm just amazed that we don't have any control. I mean, let's say a person owes $150,000 in taxes.
Well, yeah, and if they owe that much, then they're probably about to go to tax sale.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I know I saw another hand.
I may have just lost track of this, but I haven't heard a report from the South Warren Regional Police Commission. There's been several meetings scheduled. I just might have lost track. Is there an update on that?
No, there's nothing in a while. So there's nothing new to report at the moment.
Alrighty. Yeah, I was just looking at the scheduled meeting.
Thanks. Mr. McKay.
Tom McKay, Copeland's Terrace. I wanted to follow up on Lou's comments about a good and clean campaign. I'm glad we ran it that way. And I appreciate your doing the same, and, it's a good thing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see, Brian, did you have your hand up again?
Sheriff Assistant.
I would like to ask, on the website, maybe you're in charge of that, correct?
Sure.
Paul, the signs, I got the one call to change strikers in Bellevue. The poles are going in tomorrow unless it downpours. I would like you to get together maybe with me and let you know that it's going to a 4-way stop. That is coming soon. I got the line painter. I talked to the guy today. I just got to get some stencils and some things. But
Okay.
I'm hoping by the end of next week that is all there, but I thought maybe if you could get that online as soon as possible.
Sure.
To give people a heads up so that
Okay,
they've
no
got
problem.
some time to it.
Thank
All
you.
right. The other thing is, the road department isn't locked into, they are locked into certain hours on a daily, but we get called out, we do a lot of different things. Today, we started at 3 o'clock, we never punched out, we didn't take any breaks, we didn't get any lunches and different things in that fashion, we cut till 7:30. We were out cutting everybody's grass that's this tall that they did not maintain themselves, okay? I'm letting you know actually, Donna, because you called me. We are not doing anything illegal. We're not on anybody's property wrong. It is addressed. It is given to me as a paper. All right, and
We charge them, right?
it's actually charged at a double or time and a half now. All right, so they
Thank
actually
you
got
for
charged
doing
more
that.
because
Yeah.
I felt the road department did not take the man time out during the regular hours. So if you guys see, the public sees it, we're doing what's right.
Right.
All right, and we would appreciate being treated as we're doing what's right. All right, so,
I appreciate that because I know you were 2
Yeah.
houses down from my house, which is, I guess it's
right.
empty at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and we got them all done, that we're on the list if more comes in, but, so.
Thank you.
Just for the record, helps needs to get, not for you can sit down, just for the record for everyone, when we charge, we put a lien on the property and it's
Right.
just like taxes and sewer and it hops ahead of the mortgage. So
Okay.
we try to tell these banks because it's getting priority over
Right.
their liens and some of them are responsive and some just aren't. And
Needs to
that's
really
all we
be
can
cutting
do
it.
and then when they finally do sell, they'll pay it back. Rachel has been actually very good in several of the towns that I represent. She has email addresses where she's supposed to email tax type things. And so someone important is reading them and she tries to get as much through to them as she can. And every once in a while, they'll send someone out and take care of it, but it's getting worse and worse every town.
Yeah.
So it's not, you guys aren't ultimately paying it. It's,
Right.
we can take them to tax sale too it's
If they don't
just
pay.
like taxes.
Okay.
Do we charge for the overtime hours that our employees and for the labor? Is it just for the,
Charge for the equipment, I invoice
okay,
them.
you invoice them? Who gets the invoice the?
You don't have to come back, you can shop
Invoice
right there.
to the owner of record.
Okay,
It's Bill, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna be put on that list today. You're gonna have a mason dump, you're gonna have a trailer, you're gonna have 2 weed whackers, you're gonna have all the gas going through those things, you're gonna have my place being taken off on the carpet and do it like good, as your event. Two zero turns and a walk behind.
okay.
And that is what is going to be built at every house. I have exactly punched in my time card when we started that job, and I kept a log, I have it in my pocket, all right, so that you are aware of it, I bought it, all right? Every household that I was at today, all right, on at 3 to 7:30, all right, I put down the exact time I start that house, I put down exactly that time, and then I have a punch in and punch out card, so that there's no way in between, nothing gets moved around or anything. Every track is done. Any parts that get destroyed, they will pay for it. We split amongst evenly. This town makes out 100%.
Good.
Okay, and they're gonna get billed at time and a half. All right?
Okay.
So that
Right.
does not feel right because we're harder for people and work, all right, to be done on a regular time. That's why I asked that if I could do that on overtime.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
and that is how that happens.
Thank you for clarifying that we do get that money back.
You get hit pretty hard. It's not like you're gonna walk away with a $30 bill.
I'll let my lawn grow for $30. Yeah, no, thank you.
Just also to let you know, this issue came up in one of my other towns, is one of the DPW supervisors who's not as up to date on this stuff as Brian is. He said, well, if we could cut more often, it wouldn't be so, to take so long, it wouldn't be so hard on our equipment. And I said, that's not how it works. You have to wait until it's that bad, because it's a health safety issue. So if you see him out there and then you say, oh, I wish you'd come cut that grass again, don't call the town and say, please come cut it. It has to get bad again. And it is unfortunate that it does take a toll on the equipment, but I'm glad Brian's being diligent to keep up on it. But that's just the nature of the process.
Lee Rozicki, 56 Princeton Way. Beth, you mentioned the ROM study. Is it a review of the ROM zones of Lopatcong, or is there just a certain region
I
that's
can let
getting
Gary,
reviewed?
he's here tonight, if he wants to give you a little overview.
It's a review of all of the ROM zones.
Okay.
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 When we started keeping that.
And that will be presented at which meeting next month?
June 11th.
June 11th, okay.
We have a second meeting.
If you come to talk, that's gonna be you and me.
Yeah.
Again, okay. The Sycamore Landing, you said there's internal issues. Is that with the access road? Is that?
No, I don't know what the issues are.
Oh,
Something
they
they
didn't-
have to finalize. I
Oh,
have
okay.
no idea, paperwork, something. That's why they haven't started.
Oh, okay.
No,
And last, I just wanted to make a comment with respect to the budgeting process. As a general public view comment, I'm in favor of the process behind zero-based budgeting. I know we could split hairs on what you're calling it, but I think it shows the due diligence on your part as council people in looking at categories and defining our wants and needs. Periodically go through this process once every 3 years. I'm in favor of that, and I appreciate council president's willingness to get that process going for next year. I think it does show a due diligence on your part, not to carry over line items from last year to next year, but and I appreciate Donna on your effort in trying to bring this forward. So I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, questions, comments?
Olszewski, Highlands Way. Would reiterate what Lee said. You're mayor for 15 years, and is it not easy to call another mayor from another surrounding town and just ask people who are doing it if it's beneficial, if it was worthwhile? Is it not a lot easier to do something like that and research it than sit here for month upon month to figure out who's right and who's wrong?
I don't have a problem with the way we do it. I quite frankly have every confidence in the way we've gone through our budgeting. I haven't heard anything yet to suggest to me that there's a flaw in the manner in which we do it. Quite frankly, I think we're all talking in circles about, at the end of the day, what's going to turn out to be the same thing. The method that Betty uses, and quite frankly, Carl Meixel before him, and that's who's been here since I've been here, is to look historically at what we spend on every particular item from top to bottom, to give us a baseline by which to gauge what we're going to need going forward. So like I said, I'm no accountant, so I can't tell you, what it's called or how it works. In terms of talking to other mayors, I talk to other mayors all the time. I participate in the Conference of Mayors. I participate in the League of Municipalities. I even sit on the League of Municipalities board. So to answer your question, yeah, all the time. But again, I haven't heard anything yet to suggest that there's a flaw in our process, other than a bunch of different ways of describing to me what is largely the same thing and historically works. Now, my discussion the other day about the notion of zero-based budgeting, as I read it and researched it, versus a cash balance budgeting, which is what the state of New Jersey requires governmental entities to employ in order to prepare a budget and submit a budget, is just that. Mr. Olszewski, it's simply a book reading of the two concepts. Now, as I said then, I don't profess to know anything more about accounting than that, but I think I am intricately familiar with the manner in which we've gone through our budget process for as long as I've been here, and I'm very comfortable with the way that it gets handled, and I'm comfortable with it now. And I haven't heard anything to me to this point to suggest that there's a flaw, like I said, in that process.
Just because there's something done for 50 years doesn't mean it cannot be done in a better and different manner. So for me, sitting back there, it sounds, I don't know, pretty simple to call a different town or call a different mayor or say, hey, what are you guys doing, and is it better or is it worse? But I'll leave it at that. Maureen, for you, EDAC meetings, why are they public meetings?
No.
Why not? Is that a legal?
Committee.
Is that legal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you guys keep minutes?
They don't have to.
No.
They don't
No
have to
minutes?
comply with Oprah or the Open Public Meetings Act. They're an advisory-only committee.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Can I just add something? Just really quick about, as far as, I guess if we were to say that we were doing something wrong with the accounting, we would either have like a huge surplus or we'd have, I guess, tons of toys around here. I mean, that would, again, from what I looked at, I know the state of New Jersey, well, the Senate and the Assembly, different senators and assemblymen tried to pass a law requiring townships to do zero-based budgeting, and both laws failed. I guess just because when it comes down to it, at this point in the game, there's not a lot of wiggle room, and I don't know if they wanted to institute like a mandate like that. As far as, it's always good to look at new things, but I think what happens is, from what my perspective is that it's the CFO's job, and it's to work with the auditors, and then the mayor approves the final budget before it comes to council. So we hire our professionals, and the professionals have to go for continuing education credits. So they are constantly on top of whatever the new ideal is out there. So, and I mean, I think what's going to happen is we're going to come back pretty much to the same place, relatively speaking, here and there. Maybe you'll have more money in one item than another, but at the end of the day, we don't have a huge surplus, and we haven't done, what have we done? You know, besides fix roads, we don't have, people don't have new furniture, they don't have, you know, fancy vehicles or anything like that, so.
I disagree with that. There are plenty of areas for improvement in the budget. There is lots of discretionary spending in there that can be curtailed. There are, and we're not talking about a cash-based budget versus zero-based. We're talking about baseline budgeting versus zero-based budgeting. Baseline budgeting means there is no analysis. You just take last year's number and you carry it over. If you need more, you add to it without any justification. That's the difference. With zero-based budgeting, it's not a want versus needs. It's what is needed in the department. And you go through it and you analyze it and you make sure that that is exactly what is needed. It's not just taking a number and carrying it over. It's a very big difference, and they will not ultimately get to the same place.
You keep saying there's all this money to discretionary spending, Donna, but it's freaking June, and since January, you've come up with nothing. You found $10,000.
I'm not allowed to talk about it because I was silenced last month.
We had a meeting this month. We've had, every month that we've been here, we come and ask you to sit down and go through a line item and tell us where you want to take money. Lee just sat and asked us where the various line items were year to year. We started at page 12. You have the budget in front of you. We'll be back here on the 11th. By all means, I'd love to see you sit down and find a couple light items there. You want to cut something. You haven't said a darn thing in 6 months by way of cutting anything short of 10 grand in the worksheet that I got after how many opportunities to come back. Quite frankly, the only council person that did it was Lori, who came in with roughly $100,000 worth of cuts. But after sitting down and going through them with Betty, it was clear that they would have compromised the financial integrity of the municipality in the long run. You found $10,000. It's somewhat disingenuous and hypocritical of you to come here month after month and say, I found hundreds of thousands of dollars, and quite frankly, you haven't put a penny on the table. Come back June 11th with a worksheet and show us what you want to cut. And let's have a real debate about numbers instead of sitting here like you do every month and speaking in generalities. Come up with one specific line item that you think you want to cut, and let's have a big person's discussion about the finances.
Well, let's see. You know what? Let's try this out. When I went into the municipal building to get information and try and learn about this, what happened? And then what did you do? I came here to try and get information, and what did you do? You did another legalese statute that you spit out to these people saying that I'm unethical and I'm abusing my privileges. I asked, everything on that list I asked Betty was budget related. Had to do with this budget. If you don't think a payroll register is a budget-related item, then maybe you shouldn't be here, because everything on that list was a budget-related item.
Well, let's start. I'm here.
Let's go.
So let's start with postage. It's on page 12. We budgeted $8,500. Last year was
and that's not what I'm talking about. I came in here for the
There's hundreds of
information.
thousands of dollars to cut from the budget. Don't sit here and tell us in June that you still don't have information that you need to back up your $100,000.
Well, you all blocked me from that. And then when I did come in my 1 hour, I was chastised by, I was chastised.
Okay,
And I can't even talk about that. And when I talked about discretionary spending last month, I was silenced and said I'm not allowed to talk about it.
What you're saying is you still don't have the documentation to back up $100,000 because we haven't given it to you. You just think there's $100,000 there for you.
Yeah, because nobody wants to have a discussion with me. All you want to do is sit up here and discredit me. That's all you want to do. Every time I bring something up, finally, tonight, Lori's agreed to do that. Why couldn't that have ever been? Every time I ask for something, you guys do something to block it. And you know what? This is ridiculous. It is not nonsense. All you do is sit up here and discredit me. Tell these people.
Find one line item and suggest you can cut money. But all you do is come month after month and say,
that's not true.
I don't have the information, so I can't.
Right, because you guys block it. Look, I'm doing my job. I'm trying to get all the information. Don't criticize me for trying to get information. I won't criticize you for not getting the information.
We're here in June, and quite frankly, in 6 months, you have yet to do your job because you have yet to come up with a single dollar that you'd cut from the budget. And every month, it's everybody else's fault for you not doing it. So go through the budget and find a couple dollars to cut.
Hey, don't block me from the information then.
I went on very little information. I just.
Right, and that's why the budget is the way it is.
What I did was, for the one thing, for the tax assessor, I looked at it and I said, okay, I know we had a lot of appeals last year, and called the office to see about, if we thought we were gonna have similar appeals, and then I cut that, but then it got put back in because it turns out we're probably gonna need an appraiser.
I couldn't even make a phone call here. I couldn't even get a response here, and I was blocked from everything, and then you go ahead and you make me Oprah everything to get my information. Oh, yeah, right, okay. You just told everybody to file ethics complaints against me. That's really nice.
But you're suggesting I did something?
You did. That was for the report that would have cost the township
didn't say
money.
that.
No, I asked for a payroll register year end with the numbers on it. This came.
What year did you ask for that?
2013. I wanted year-end numbers for 2013. And that's what I asked for, a detailed payroll register. Had you stopped to ask me a little bit more, I would have given you exactly I was asking for. I put it on an email. I put it in writing, yet nobody could get it to me because then all of a sudden you told me it's some fictitious report that doesn't exist. I asked for a payroll register.
There was 2 payrolls, and that also has to be redacted. You have our social security numbers on that. That just can't go to
That's
you.
fine, then redact it
Yeah.
and give it to me, but why do I have to pay for it?
It takes money. We have to charge the public.
Was done. What are you talking about?
When I put it in writing, you told me you read off everything in my email that I asked for. And in that email, the number one thing was the payroll register. Yes, you did. Go look at the minutes. And one, you said, I asked for, no, it was not a special payroll register because you didn't understand what I said. I asked for.
I have a hard time understanding a lot of these.
Right, well, because you don't ask. And every time I try and get something out, you guys discredit me and you knock me down.
Listen.
If you would let me explain myself, then maybe we wouldn't have these problems, but all you sit there and do is discredit me.
Donna, with all due respect, I don't need to try to discredit you. And I've given you every opportunity. You've had 6
Right.
months.
Keep going with the
to come up-
discrediting.
You've had 6 months to come up with anything other than to say that we're overspending, and you've done zero. You've come up with nothing.
It hasn't been 6 months that I've said
so-
you're overspending.
Yeah, you did. You started in January saying that you didn't have information to vote then.
That wasn't overspending. That wasn't about overspending.
Oh, I know.
Don't
It was
say
our fault
that.
that you didn't have information to vote on the professionals. That was January.
Right, you still didn't give me an answer to that question. Where's the 8 copies?
You didn't have information to vote on something else in February. March, we had a good month. Now it's like April, May, and June, and you still don't have information to support your suggestion that we're overspending. I get it. It's a pattern. And
Right, should I read the emails to everyone to show that I was blocked from here? And then you read that NJSA, whatever you did, to tell everybody to file ethics complaints against me because everything I asked for was budget related. You rattled them off in about 1 second. Nobody can even understand what you said. Excuse me. So, to sit here and keep doing this to me time after time, I tried to give you information. I tried to talk to you. I tried to go behind the scenes, like people suggest, so it's not all aired out over here. And it never works because I'm blocked from it. I'm given some excuse, and it doesn't work.
I still have a problem. I mean, if you're going to ask for a report that has my social security number on it, it has to be redacted.
That's fine, but don't say I have to pay for it.
Money. If you're leaving the building, you're going to look at it. It's their hourly rate that they're sitting there redacting documents.
It's
Not
one
my social security
document.
number, everybody's social
It's
security
one
number.
document. It's a payroll register. I'm an elected official. I should be able to have a payroll register.
We this building with a form with my social security number.
I didn't ask for it.
So it has to be redacted.
Right, but that's not a special form. It's a regular payroll register that has to have a social security. No, it doesn't.
Yes,
Somebody
it does.
sits there with a pen and
Takes
does
away
it.
from their daily
Oh,
work.
come on,
If my memory
really?
serves me correctly, you asked for, Betty offered to set up times for a meeting. You came in with Miss McCabe, and you didn't ask for anything.
Oh, yes, I did. And actually, I left money on the desk to pay for the copies I asked for.
I have to look up my notes from that.
You asked for a reduction of $10,000 in roads OE.
No,
Yeah.
I asked for information.
I asked you, where is the $150,000
No, you
reduction
didn't.
in
You
the
said,
budget?
"Here's the cuts." You said,
Where are
"Here's
the
the cuts."
For the record, that's the worksheet that I got. It showed you asking for $10,000
Oh,
reduction.
because you know what, because everything in here was so flawed, I'm not even putting my name on it. It doesn't matter, because at that point, it didn't matter. At that point, it didn't matter, because I'm not putting my name on this budget.
We weren't going to in the first place.
I sent an
Can we
email
please
telling
move
everyone
on?
the importance of voting on the budget
I think Donna could argue this all night long, and she's not going to approve the budget. We
Well,
all know
that's why I asked
that.
for a
So let's.
report. But just for the record, I sent an email to
Doesn't
all
matter
the
what we
council telling
say.
them why we had to do first reading, why it was very important because of the local finance board.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if anyone has any trouble getting any documents, to please let the mayor or myself know, and
I
I'll make sure it
did,
happens.
and that's when I was blocked.
Did you ask me for documents that you didn't get?
No, and she didn't ask me.
No, because you were sitting up here when he said I had to pay for them. You knew.
You can still ask. I provided you documents since then that you did not have to pay for.
Yeah, since then.
Right, I sent you it, since I sent you that email, and I said, if you're having any trouble with
There's
any
been nothing.
employees, please contact myself or the mayor, and we will make sure you get those documents. And I didn't hear a word.
You sent me emails saying I need clarification on your OPA requests.
Well, you were filing OPA requests, so I wanted to know what you needed.
Right, and I paid for them like you told me to do it. I had to pay for them. I had to OPA them. As an elected official, I had to OPA my
Because you're
documents.
taking them out of municipal and giving them to other people.
No, I
Your
wasn't.
husband.
No, I
That's
wasn't.
the record that you gave them to your husband.
They're public documents.
Not when they have social security.
I did not ask for one with a social security number on it. Stop putting words in my mouth.
Payroll register has the social security numbers on it, doesn't it?
Right, but you redact it. You redact any of the information. So why couldn't you say, sure, Councilwoman Schneider, I will get you the payroll register. We just have to redact the information. Instead, you make me write out a piece of paper to OPA the document.
Because everyone else has to pay for that redaction.
I'm not in everyone else. I'm an elected official that should have this information.
Municipal building, and therefore it has to be.
I'd have to pay for it too.
All right, Mr. Taggart, you got something?
I was just hoping that my coming up here and standing here would stop this embarrassment. Because it is. It is an embarrassment. And I know this isn't really appropriate for an executive session, but please, if you're going to have this discussion, have it when we're not in the room.
That's why emails
And
are sent out.
reporter's not in the room.
Look, I just want to, somebody's going to suggest that we're overspending. I'd like to know where the money is. And 6 months, we haven't gotten it, Mr. Taggart, that's all. So-
You said there's 14,000 transactions or something. Is that in entries? Is that in the spreadsheet you can give her?
I have it a pile on my desk, on the table in my office.
Not electronically?
Oh, it's not.
Everything's been provided, Mr. Taggart.
Okay. I was just thinking that maybe if she had access to that and she could go through that. Oh,
No, I don't.
you mean in terms of a stack this high?
Well, no, it's just fine.
It's the same access that everyone else gets.
We all go through the same stuff, Bill. Okay. Anybody else have questions, comments tonight? Yeah, Ms. Johnson.
Hello, Eric Johnson, 361 Stonehenge Drive. I'm one of the members of the Recreational Committee, and I have a request. I'm going to be looking at the pool income, and I'm not questioning on whether it's making money or losing money. I want to know what income we're bringing from out-of-town residents versus Lopatcong residents. So I don't believe we've been keeping track of this information, but this year, I want to keep track of how much money we're making from out of township versus how much we're making in township. And then I can do an appropriate financial analysis and find out if we're charging the people of Lopatcong the correct amount of money. And the only way to do that is to know what's coming from out of town and what's coming from in town. I see our out of town residents in this town are paying about 10% more than the in township residents. Holland Township, that pool charges about 35–40% more for out of township. I'm not saying that we have to bring in more money or bring in less money. I'm just saying we could redistribute it a little bit. But in order for me to do my job on the recreational committee, I need to see these numbers. And I'm requesting that these numbers be tracked this season. So at the end of the season, I can look at it and figure out if we can do any adjustments. You know, I don't know which way, but maybe we can do some adjustments at next season. I know it's too late to change the rates for this season, but let's keep track of it. And I'll do the analysis. I'm volunteering to do it, and let's see if we can change the numbers around. Maybe our numbers aren't that great for the township residents right now. So my request is let's keep track of how much money we're making from out-of-town residents versus township residents.
So your theory is,
Keep track of all the memberships outside the town, inside the town, and.
Including the daily
and
passes.
swim team.
Including the daily passes.
Not necessarily the daily passes, no.
Okay, let's add that to it.
would they be able to track that?
Pardon me?
Would they be able to track that easily, or?
Well,
I
that
mean-
would be to stop every person coming in and asking for proper identification, because many people who live in Greenwich or other towns think that they're part of Lopatcong. And then they get very aggravated and nasty. So, I mean, as a general question, are you from Lopatcong? You know, they might say, yeah, they live in Weaver. You know, but I'm not going to stand there and you know,
So no
ID every person that comes into the.
So no ID required is what we're saying. Everybody basically pays the in-township rate.
No. Out-of-towners, daily rate's $5
Mhm.
for Lopatcong. Out-of-towners, it's $6. On weekends, it's $7.50.
But you just
But I
said they
think
can
Eric's
come in and
saying-
say whatever they want.
They
We don't
could.
check ID. So I'm assuming most 50% of the people lie probably and get in for.
Well, now, my gate office manager's been there for probably 10 or 12 years, and she knows just about everybody, the return customers. And you can, you know, she can surmise pretty much who's out of town and who's in.
Great, let's keep track of it then.
We did.
And
I did.
And I'll get the numbers at the end of the season and I'll check them out and I'll see if we can make some adjustments to it.
Are you're looking to perhaps lower the resident rate and raise the non-resident based on?
Potentially.
Right.
I mean, let's see if we can lower the amount for the residents. That's great. It's their township. It's their pool. Maybe we can't, but maybe we can. But there's only one way to find out. And the difference between out of township and township right now is very small. The other pools, they have a much bigger margin. So maybe we can improve on the situation. Maybe we can help out our people living in the township. So I just want that data to be collected and so I can look at it. So, I
Is
mean.
it possible to do that? I mean, as, okay, just let me,
That's
yeah.
my responsibility to.
But that's
you know,
okay.
what we're already doing.
Okay.
That's okay. Maybe we'll do it with a 50% accuracy. Let's get some idea. I mean, obviously the season passes. Yeah.
Well, the season passes, you can
Season
tell,
passes
you know, the
already.
daily.
What he's
that they would
saying
have
though is
to
that if we're
do
using the
check
honor system to check the dailies, that you're not going to know for
Right.
certain whether or not everybody that's coming in is, I understand what
And they're
they're
gonna have to tick them off.
You're just going to have your person just checking at the gate, kind of just do a checklist of whether or not she's collecting 5 or 7 or whatever. So that way you'll help us, or 6, right? And that'll
Yeah, just a
help us
little
get
ledger form, you know.
benchmarks or whether they're in town or out of town.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure they can make an effort.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. And then at the end of the season, I'll take a look and we'll figure out what we can do for next year then. Is that good? Everybody's on board then?
Yes.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody other questions, comments tonight? Yeah, Diane.
Please come to the mic.
Diane Hall, don't kill me, I was not expecting that response. I will not be at the next meeting, so my vote to make it clear, I just want to, I have no problems with a raise. I just have a problem with a 50% raise. That's all I was saying. Okay. And this might be an appropriate time, I don't know. Lori, when I ran Community Day vendors, Dr. Gomes' office did blood pressure
Oh,
checks.
did you really? Oh, okay, good.
So,
Good. No,
you
that's what we're
know,
looking for.
you
yeah.
might want to reach out to her.
Okay.
And she did set up a stand and she gave out, did free
Oh,
blood
nice.
pressure.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
You know, I was wondering if the Sycamore Landing property is still farmland assessed and paying $200 a year in taxes, or whether it's now been reassessed as.
You'd have to ask our tax assessor.
Have to call Kathy Davis.
Yes.
No one knows?
She's the assessor. She's
We
the
lose a
assessor.
lot of money in the township with the farmland assessed properties.
I know you
that are in
have
fact
to-
Commercial properties.
Take that up to the assessor.
It's
Take it
very
up to the
autonomous office, as she has repeatedly told us as council people. So if you do want to make a request, I mean, you can make a formal request to us or to the mayor, and he could pass it on to her and CC
No, enough
Katrina,
for
so
that.
then maybe it'll actually,
I'll do that.
we can do that.
Well, I remember you were here a couple years ago and you kept going
Right.
on and on about the intercounty paving property, and we had to tell you repeatedly that it was still farmed, and we had to bring a picture of corn here to show you. So I would ask you to go to her and get that answer, and if you don't
I'm
get
just
it,
looking to bring
taxpayer-
the
Yeah, if you
most
don't get the
revenue.
answer
But
right
that's-
away,
that's The
let
first
us
couple
know.
times we met you was, I think, 3 months in a row. I was asking.
Right, I believe, yes.
Mhm. Like they've taken test forward.
Nope.
You can't. It's a law, we have to follow the law.
Very gray area.
It is not a gray area.
This is what I understand. This
No.
is the state
You
law.
can call the county tax board, they'll tell you.
All right, I'll do that. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Thank you.
Yeah, we have to be
Anybody
very
else?
careful that we
Questions,
follow the law.
comments? On one, twice, Jim. Oh, Mr.
Jim.
McGucci.
Good evening. I would have
Hello,
to.
Mr. Mengucci.
Yes, my name is Jim Mengucci, 801 Belvedere Road. For those of you who don't know me, maybe you're getting a better look from the back than you got from the front. So, I would offer my services to Mrs. Schneider, as I've offered them to Mrs. McCabe and Mrs. Chesler, who called me a year and a half ago to just have a general discussion on township business. I'm not involved anymore. 15 years, 36 years in the family. I think I can certainly offer you some insight that may be helpful, because I must concur with Mr. Taggart. Sitting in that back row after sitting up here for 15 years, it's embarrassing. It's truly embarrassing. A people helping people community is what I called it. That's still what I believe it is. I think that's what made this township great. It's embarrassing. So I've had discussions with Mr. Belcaro, Mrs. McCabe, Mrs. Chesler. Of course, the mayor and I are still in contact. Again, use me for whatever you can.
Thank
I'm
you.
still here to serve the township. Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Everybody?
Aye.
And 30 and 40.